His name's Phill.
And his name is Tim.
And this is Tim and Phill Talk About Games.
A podcast where Tim and myself get together and talk about games we recently played and topics in the world of gaming.
This week on the podcast, we're tackling unfinished games. Whether it's a byproduct of the Steam syndrome, the paradoxical nature of endless games, or the lure of New Game Plus.
We'll also be looking at games whose times have come too early for the players engaged with them, and really focusing in on the importance of,
Finishing?
Oh yeah, and the importance of finishing. Yes, we are back for another episode of Tim and Phill Talk About Games. Today, as we said in the intro, we are going to be talking about unfinished games. There's a whole bunch of different types of unfinished games that can occur in your game library and in your gaming life, so it's going to be really interesting talking about them. But before we do, I guess we'll just go ahead and do our usual what games have we been playing. Tim, have you got any more embarrassing stories about games that you have played that are really, really shameful? Are you still playing SimCity on your mobile?
I am still playing SimCity on my mobile. It's really bad. It's really, really bad.
How many cement mixes do you have now?
I've mixed so much cement. I've unlocked a new sort of tier of things as well now, which is like certain items take 6 to almost 12 hours to produce, and it really grinds the game down, and there's just nothing you can do in the meantime. And the whole time you get these little messages coming up saying, well, why don't you just spend some money?
Yeah,
just spend some money. Just spend a little bit of money. Just a little money, man. Just the tip.
Just the tip. Have you actually spent any money?
Not $1, and I will not. I will not. It's just too... I do watch the voluntary advertising, which is a trend in mobile gaming that is just foul.
It is gross, isn't it?
It's like, here, you can subject yourself to an advert. You'll get something for it, but you need to willingly say yes to an advert.
Yeah.
Fine. I am that much of a horrible consumer whore.
Yeah, this Skinner box has got me good.
It's bad. And also, it's another game that is technically endless. It's another unfinished game, which ties in nicely to the episode.
Yeah, exactly.
As do both the other games that I'm playing, which are Pokemon, which is the Pokemon Alpha Sapphire.
Sure.
Pokemon games, I guess.
That does have it has a linear storyline.
It does, but
you're never going to catch them all.
No, well, the majority of the game happens after you finish the Elite Four for me. So the majority of the game time is spent post-game.
Yeah. And
it's not even New Game Plus at this point. It's literally just after the game. You're just now trying to collect everything. And by the time you have got all the event Pokemon that you need and all the special, legendaries, and you've transferred them through various generations using the bank system and all the rest of it, then they release a new game.
Yeah, exactly.
And it ties in with the other one. So it's endless because they just keep releasing content for it.
Well, it's 20 years old today now, I think. Or not today, but...
Well, very recently, in the last couple of days was the first.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting. And I do love the Pokemon game, so I can't complain about that because it's a huge part of my life. Also, The Witcher 2, which is a game that I never finished because of Steam Syndrome.
Yes.
So there's one for each category, I guess. Also, actually, the other thing I've been doing is not so much a game, although there is definitely a gamification aspect of it, which is possibly a topic for a later show, and that is Duolingo. I have been going nuts on the Duolingo, learning German, ready for the brief 3 days I spend in Germany later. Why not learn the entire difficult language for those 3 days, I say?
Well, at least learn how to order a beer.
Yes, I can do that, which is only because beer is beer.
It's beer.
So, that game, that program, app, whatever you want to call it, gives you experience points. And you set yourself like a daily goal. And, for me, it's 30 experience points, which is the second from the hardest. The hardest was only 50. And I do probably about 50 a day. Sometimes I'll do almost 3 hours of practice some days on this app.
Yeah.
Because it's got a nice haptic feedback, it's got a nice flow to it as well.
Yeah.
The lessons are short, sort of there's a percussive aspect to it. I don't know, it works really well. I'm really pleased with it.
Have you like manage to get through kind of... Are you finding that you're retaining the information that much, or...?
Yeah, because there's a practice thing that you have to do.
Oh, okay.
And what it means is that every time you learn some new words, it adds these words and these sentences and the context of them. The context.
Yes, the
It adds the context of
putting
them.
the emphasis on the right syllable. Yes.
Into your bank, I guess you could call it. And then when you run practice sessions, it will give you words based on how often you use those words. So the least often words that you use, yeah, that's right. Still, language today. It puts them more often in your practice.
Right.
So as you stop using a word, its strength starts to weaken over time, and you have to like build its strength back up.
Gotcha.
Not unlike a casual mobile game.
Yeah, exactly. No, they've done. Yeah. I think I tried using it to learn French at one point for, again, a very brief stop that we were doing on our European tour. You're going to be highly disappointed when you get to Germany and everyone speaks amazing English.
That's what I've been told. I've got to Frankfurt as well, and they're like, guys, Frankfurt is one of the most Western cities in Germany.
It's really like everyone just talks to you in English. They just look at you and go, "Yep, you are definitely not German." I'm going to talk to you.
Look at the way you are dressed.
Yeah. Look how unfashionable you are and inefficient your walking is.
So, look at the diagonal line you just drew across the street. That was so inefficient.
Yeah. You should be ashamed.
How about you?
So I've been playing a lot of Rocket League, as per usual.
Mm-hmm. How goes the tournament?
Tournament goes well. We played another game last night, and we thoroughly whooped the butts of the people that we're playing against. It is a little bit... it seems the tournament is split into two unofficial groups. There's like kind of half the tournament is like just casual people that are just looking to have a bit of fun in the tournament, and the other half is people that have put in a lot of hours, like myself, and are actually playing a little bit higher level. So it's a little bit unfortunate when we meet up with teams that are a little bit less, but yeah, they put up an okay fight. It was better than the team that played before us. Oh, sorry, the teams that played after us. I actually shoutcasted a couple of matches, and they got absolutely hammered like twice in a row, and it was just really hard to watch, basically. But yeah, there you go. You have that. So I've been playing Rocket League. I've also been playing Shadows of Mordor. Which is a really, really good game.
I own it.
Trust me, give it a go. Grab a controller and start it. Because I played a good, solid, 3 or 4 hours in a row. And Louise came up to me and she's like, you don't usually play games for this long at a time. And this is on, I think, the Sunday when I was really sick. You might hear I've still got a bit of a cold. I was really sick on the weekend, and I just basically sat down and played this game for about 3 or 4 hours. It's really solid. I can see why it got quite a few awards now. The combat is basically Batman combat, so it's got that real nice flow to it, and just comboing and all that kind of stuff. And then it's got this open world aspect of going around and performing objectives to gain power and mucking around with the power struggles of the orcs that are all around. I've just gotten up to the bit where you can start possessing, or not possessing, but branding orcs, so they become your little army.
That's the part that really interests me in that game, actually.
It's really cool. It's actually quite a fair way into the game, to be honest. It's about, I'm about 4 hours into the game, 4 or 5 hours into the game, and they've only just given me that power. I think I could have done it faster, but I was having too much fun, getting missions to go assassinate orcs and sneaking up behind them and finding out their weaknesses and finding out you can it'll tell you when you get intel on these captains, which you get by interrogating other orcs. It'll tell you stuff like they can be one shot by doing this one thing, this one weird trick to killing this orc captain. Orc captains hate him. And yeah, you can it's like taking down a boss in one hit. It really is that difference between it either being a really long protracted fight and trying to gain small advantages, or walking up behind them, stabbing them, and they're dead.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to have a game that rewards you for doing that kind of scouting out by doing that. And the only other thing I've been playing, which kind of ties into our topic for today, is I actually installed a mobile game. What? I know, I don't usually do this. I was actually looking for some inspiration for my own game. For GUI elements, so how to make a really nice, crunchy GUI, a good... Oh, sorry, that sounds weird. Crunchy GUI, crunchy graphic user interface, I should say, a good menu and all that kind of stuff. So I was looking up some mobile games, and I installed Crossy Road, which is a game by an Australian developer, I think called Hipster Whale, or I can't remember the other name. There's two names that pop up when you play it. Anyway, and yeah, that's endless. It's just like it's Frogger, but it goes forever, and you unlock different things that you use to actually cross the roads and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
it's pretty fun. It's good for a little one tap. Like there's only one button, and you either tap it or you swipe it, and you move left and right or up and down. So, but it's pretty good. It's very polished, very very polished. Just goes to show how a very simple game concept and a lot of polish will get you everywhere. Because I think that game has made a butt ton of money for the creators. So
good GUIs can really make and break a game.
Absolutely.
Like if your user interface is not intuitive, if it doesn't feel have the same feeling as the rest of the game, if it doesn't sort of transmit the mood, then it's just not something that works, and it will destroy your game.
Yeah, exactly.
Conversely, a really, really good GUI can turn a very average game into an incredible game.
Yeah, and all the feedback and all that kind of stuff. But so that's pretty much what I'm playing. Nothing particularly exciting, but hopefully, I don't know. I'm feeling pretty comfortable just picking up and playing Rocket League every now and again, and finding the inspiration sometimes to play a game like Shadows of Mordor and get through it and actually finish games. What? It's nuts. But yeah, that's what we've been playing. I don't think we have any shout outs for people that have followed us or anything like that, but maybe next time. But yeah, let's get stuck into our topic. So unfinished syndrome. So what how do you want to start this one? What do you want to go through?
Well, okay, so I mean, for me, I find unfinished syndrome really frustrating, especially in the last couple of years, because it's getting to that point now where there are so many games that either I own but haven't even started playing, or there are games that I have been playing that I've realized I've been playing for too long.
Yeah,
I don't actually particularly enjoy the game, but it's got that you need to come back to it sort of feeling.
Right.
Kind of like, I guess, SimCity on the mobile phone. And that also, every now and then, you also get reminded of games, and you go, oh man, I started playing that. I don't remember how it finished. And then you look at it, you're like, oh, I actually never did finish it. And the reason for not finishing some of these games are so varied. Like, if it was one thing, you could be like, oh, well, I just need to not do this thing.
Yeah.
I need to stop, picking up random ducks, because every time I do, I don't finish a game. Like, if it was that simple, it wouldn't be a problem. But the problem is that there are so many reasons why you might not finish a game.
Right.
Ones that stick out in my mind, it took me a long time to finish The Witcher, the original Witcher, purely because it was a very, very long game. The middle section was too padded out and very frustrating to get through, and my save game files were consistently corrupting every time I reached a certain point.
Really?
It was just bad luck. It wasn't a problem with the game. Oh, they were corrupting because, my hard drives were exploding. It wasn't the game's fault at all.
Right.
So it was getting to a point where I had to play the first third of the game 6 times before I actually got to a point where I could finish the game.
Right.
And that has happened to a couple of games. I think one of the problems there is that the game simply is too long.
Yeah.
The same problem with Dragon Age 2, a game I've really enjoyed but never got to the end of because it was just so long. And especially when you realize that the game is split into almost 2 acts, I guess. There's probably 3 or 4 acts, but I think of it as 2 major acts. And the second act, by the time you finish the first act, you're like, oh, that was really climactic. Oh, wait, that's only half the game?
Yeah.
And there's almost a sense of fear and trepidation as you realize, oh, I have to go through the rest of this now. This is going to take me forever.
Do you think that is because, obviously our lifestyles nowadays, we both work full time, it's not, it's a little bit, we've both got activities on after work and all that kind of stuff. Is it mainly because of that, or is it because of you just have a different taste nowadays, or you...
I think it's a bit of both. You do certainly have less time on your hands to be able to jump into some of these big epic games, but also I just feel like there is a sense, there's this constant battle between developers and publishers. I should sort of differentiate between the two, and the consumer base, where people are like, oh, that game was so short, I didn't enjoy that at all because it was so short. It was only 4 hours, or it was only 8 hours. But I think we need to learn to embrace some of these shorter games for what they are, because when we consistently complain that a game is only 30 hours, like, it's only 30 hours?
Yeah.
Really? Like, you can tell a good story in 30 hours.
Yeah.
If you want your game to be not 30 hours, if you want it to be an epic, 80 or 120 hour game, then you need to have a very special game on your hands. Like, you need to have a Morrowind.
Yeah.
Like, you need to have a game that has the draw and the reason for you to keep coming back into it, whether it's a constant sense of progression or an incredible story that you just always want to uncover more.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt like, for example, Dragon Age 2 just had so much exploration in it, to the point where you just had so many find and fetch quests and like 100% this area, and it was like the halfway between an open world game and a linear game where it was possible to 100% it, but it's almost unfeasible to do so. Yeah. And so you're driven to do it, and you feel like you should, but you also don't need to.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting if, like, I mean, that's why people watch Let's Plays, right? I guess is because they, sometimes some Let's Players will kind of give you the cliff notes on a game. They'll kind of like only show you the interesting parts of the story or whatever. Like you can find videos that just show just the story of games, and it cuts out all the exploration stuff.
There are players out there who will do just the cutscenes of the Nathan Drake games.
Yeah.
The Uncharted ones.
And it plays like a really good movie.
Yeah, I would watch that movie. In fact, I would play those games if I had a PlayStation, but it's not feasible to have every console when
you have a PC.
Yeah. PC. I wasn't going to say it, but I was...
That's fine. Let's just embrace it. Own it, Tim. Own it.
Yeah, I know. Well, so then the other side of it... sorry, cut you off again.
No, that's fine.
The other side of it is games like roguelikes. Yeah. And games like... So the ones that stick out in my mind very much are FTL and the Dungeons of the Endless.
Yeah.
So 2 games where I sunk probably 20, 30 hours into it and then realized I hadn't actually finished the game yet. No. I hadn't even made one successful playthrough.
But do you think that... So that's an interesting thing, right? Because roguelikes, they're designed for you to eventually complete them, but they're also... They're trying to take... have its cake and eat it too, right? They're trying to make it so that you have these short, crunchy experiences of like, half an hour to an hour, where you're just playing the game until you inevitably die, unless you finish the game. But then you will end up usually sinking a good 20 or 30 hours just trying to get to the point where you can finish them, like accumulating the stats and accumulating the items, as they drip feed them to you through, your skill or luck or however. So they're kind of trying to do both things, right? So I don't know whether or not, I mean, does that factor, like, are you happier to spend... Which less triggers your, like, I should have finished this by now kind of thing? Is it a single narrative that goes for 30 hours, or is it a roguelike where you spend an hour, like the game loop is an hour rather than the game loop is 30 hours, but you're just doing that hour over and over and over again? Like, which one do you think is less kind of offensive to you? I don't want to... That's not the right word.
Yeah, no, I know what you're getting at. I don't know which one would trigger me more.
Triggered.
Yeah. So I think... So the funny one, I think, for me was FTL, because I sunk so much time into it and then left it and walked away. I was like, I really enjoyed that game.
Yeah.
And then
but
months later, I
was
like...
you.
Well, months later, I realized, oh my god, I've never finished it.
Yeah.
Like... I hadn't actually realised that I'd never finished it. I thought I'd done a really good job, and I don't know when I would have stopped it. I would have just sort of trailed away at one point.
Well, that's a similar one to me, and it was an FPS, I wouldn't say roguelike, but it had some of the roguelike aspects, which was Heavy Bullets. Yeah. The really, like, stylized kind of, really twitchy FPS. I played, like, probably... Oh, let's have a look. So I played 6 hours. The game loop on that is around about 15 minutes. So that's a lot of loops of that.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. And I really loved playing it. I loved getting in the zone for those 15 to 20 minutes, dying a couple of times during that time, and then putting it down and walking away. And then, I realized, same as you, I've never finished that game. I've gotten down to the final boss plenty of times, because once you kind of have enough money, you can kind of always get down to the boss pretty much. But yeah, never actually finished it because the boss was too frustrating for me.
And so the thing is with games like that, and with games like FTL and with Dungeons of the Endless, is that in order to unlock the other content of the game, you need to finish it at least once. So with FTL, you can't unlock any of the other ships until you've beat it with one of the ships. Although, you can unlock some of them by doing quests, but those quests only appear in what appears as random iterations of the game.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I never unlocked a single other ship in FTL.
No, so what I did recently is I went back to FTL and I made a concerted effort to just try and unlock ships by like beelining for certain objectives.
Right.
And I got 2 or 3 of them out, but then I was like, I felt like if when I'd done that when I first got the game, I might have had more fun with it, but I would have also had less fun with it because you're starting off the game in an artificial manner sort of thing, because you're making these bizarre beelines and you're not sort of exploring it or what I would consider to be organically.
No, I would agree.
Dungeons of the Endless does the same thing. You can't unlock the other sort of starting conditions, or Dungeons of the Endless does a really cool thing where when you unlock different sort of starting conditions, you actually change the mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
So like one of them might be that you can only get health back via spending food, I think it is. Like you don't regenerate after each round.
Yeah, exactly.
And that really changes the game.
Makes you much more cautious.
Yeah, another one stops you from being able to upgrade buildings. Like it's weird sort of changes to the game that really change the way you play.
It's
and
pretty
approach
much,
the
I mean,
entire thing.
Let's face it, it's pretty much just hard mode, like in different ways.
I guess, but some of them actually add new mechanics rather than just taking out things that help you.
Yeah.
So, but I never unlocked any of those.
Yeah, no, I don't think I ever finished Dungeons of the Endless, even though we played it heaps.
Yeah, it's really frustrating, but because it's such a really cool sort of, concept, but by its very paradoxical nature, you are not going to finish it. Like, you're not going to see half the good things that the developers put in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you are a super hardcore player
Yeah.
who is just going to go in and just go, balls to the walls and drop 1,000 hours into it.
Yeah.
And those people have got to be few and far between.
Well, it's like, a game like Binding of Isaac or something like that, where there are very, very specific conditions.
Binding of Isaac, it's another one.
Yeah, like there's really specific conditions that the game creators have programmed in there that only occur once in a million plays, but because there's so many people playing it, like these things have come out and really shown like what you can do when you're confident that your game is going to be well received, which they kind of were because the first one was. But yeah, like roguelikes are a really strange one because I'm like you in that I am, finding it hard to like look at a game and be like, what's I've actually started going to the website, I think it's called timetobeat.com, which is like a website where it averages out, like people submit how long it took them to beat a game and it averages it out and gives you like a time to beat that game. And if there's any game that's like 20 hours, like that might be my threshold. Like if it's 20 hours to finish a game, I'm like, man, really? Like, really? I don't know whether or not I can take on that responsibility.
Yeah.
It's like a burden.
Of trepidation.
Yeah, it really puts me off. And it's kind of stupid because, I would probably spend, when I come home and I'm just like relaxing, decompressing after a day, I probably do spend about an hour on like just emails or Reddit or talking to you or talking to random people on chat. If I just spent that hour on the game that is 20 hours long, I'd have it done in a week or two. Like, it would be fine. But for some reason, just having that number there, it's like, I don't know whether or not I actually want to invest my time in this. Like, what if the story is crap? Or what if what if the gameplay is just repetitive after a while? And
that really comes down to the whole, economics of choice and what you're giving up as a result of that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you are invested in that game at that point, and you don't want to walk away from it, right? Is that what you're getting at, or is it more?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, well, I don't want to start playing this game if I'm not going to get the absolute optimal return from it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think, especially with games that are really long, like your Final Fantasies and all that kind of stuff, like keeping up the gameplay for that whole time, like it's really hard, and a lot of the tricks that they use to do that kind of don't work on me anymore. Like the whole grind to level up and seeing what the next ability is. Like, there's not that many games that will surprise me in how they approach that. So as a result, I'm not that interested in investing that amount of time just to see what the next little carrot is that they're going to dangle in front of me. Like, it's, yeah.
Yeah. So I think when I see a new game that's coming out, or a game that's new on my horizon at least, I think the first thing that will draw me into a game is the art.
Yeah.
Like, if it has a good title screen, if it looks good, I'm like, oh man, I really want to experience that because it just looks like I'm going to enjoy, being there. As soon as it starts to say things like infinite replayability, or I'm always a little bit cautious.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, I don't know. The art's going to have to be really amazing.
Yeah.
The art's going to have to be incredible. And then on top of that, like, I'd usually watch the trailer or whatever, and if it has a good soundtrack or a good trailer to it, then
yeah,
I'll start to, be a little bit more into it. And the other thing that sort of will... And this ties in really badly as well, is that there are some game archetypes that will always draw me in.
Right, yeah.
And one of those, unfortunately, is city building. So I will see a game. Another one is the Civ-like games, like your 4X games. Also, the other one is the Might and Magic style games.
Sure.
Where you have like a character and like the army building, that kind of thing. Especially if it's got a sort of a chess mechanic to it. I'll see games like that on Steam and go, oh, that's an interesting take on that. It doesn't look very good, and it's boasting that you can play it forever. All the red flags are there, but I will buy it anyway. Because there comes times when I feel like I have a craving for that type of game.
Yeah.
And there are several. I think I originally bought King's Bounty on that craving.
Yeah,
Didn't know what it was. But like, this is amazing. You're like, oh yeah, man, this whole series is amazing. And I'm like, wait, there are more?
Yeah.
This is incredible. So it works sometimes, but also it does. You end up buying games like Cities XL, which was just, so bad.
Oh,
just so
I thought
bad.
you were going to say City Skyline, but no.
No, Skylines is amazing.
Yeah.
Cities XL is just, it's a game that they re-release every year with no changes, and I have been suckered into paying for that 3 times now.
It's the Madden of city building.
Except it's not, because it's not even like, it's the same lineup of guys.
Right.
The graphics are the same. The soundtrack files are identical. Like, they haven't even re-recorded the soundtrack. The soundtrack is just identical.
Awesome.
It's so bad.
So I guess the other thing that we wanted to talk about is fatigue in games. So this has kind of happened. The most recent, I guess, large scale fatigue that's happened with a game that is in itself unfinishable is Destiny. So I've been playing Destiny for about probably 6 months now. And I've definitely gotten fatigued with it because after a while in Destiny, there's really nothing to do. You can play the game over and over and over again. You can get slightly better loot and all that kind of stuff. But after a while, you just kind of get to a point where there's no new content. You've kind of seen all the current content. You could try and do a raid on expert mode or whatever it is, but that's just kind of frustrating. And I don't really like raiding with randoms in general. And
because you're not a psychopath.
yeah, exactly. And you
I
just
love
kinda,
bugs.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just get over the game. But this is a game that you haven't finished. Like, you haven't gotten the best items. You haven't gotten that, exotic weapon that you really, really wanted or something like that. But at this stage, there's no real benefit to you investing any more time or effort into it. So you kind of, if you're me, you kind of just walk away. And that feels really odd. Like, I guess it requires reframing of what you expect to get out of a game and when is an okay time to walk away from a game as well. That's the other thing.
If you can understand and you can come to the reasoning that it might not be the last time you walk away from the game. Like, you might come back to it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That softens the blow a lot, because I know that there are some games that I play where I will play it and play it and play it and play it, and then I'll get to a point where I'm like, oh, I actually don't want to open this game up. Like, I'm dreading playing any more of this game because I know it's going to suck the next 4 hours out of my life, and I'm not at the end yet. I'm nearly there, but I'm not quite. And so I get like this every time I play Total War games.
Right.
I love the Total War games. Like, I really, really love them, especially
really
Empire and the new Rome and Attila sort of spin-off. They're incredible games. They're very, very good games. But you do reach a point where you're 40 hours into a campaign And this is 10 solid days of 4 hours a day, not necessarily consecutively, but you're playing large chunks for a good week or so.
Sure.
And you're reaching a point where the end game always feels a little padded out in the Total War games to me.
Yeah.
There's never a nice climactic finale. It's just like an actual empire. I mean, it's historically accurate in that sense.
Yeah.
Empires kind of spread out, too big, too thin, and then collapse like a flan in the fridge. That's how empires work.
Right.
The British Empire did it, the French Empire did it, and that's how the game runs. You get to a point where you're too big, you're too powerful, and nothing's a challenge for you anymore, but you're also struggling to keep your economy in the positive, or you've reached a point where you just have infinite money, and that's another, problem with these kind of games. It's very hard to balance late game in an infinite game, right?
Yeah.
Because it's impossible. I'd say it's impossible. I'd say it's straight up impossible.
Yeah.
It either is going to fall apart and break apart, or it's going to get overpowered and become meaningless.
Yeah, sure.
So these games I will play and play and play and play, and then slowly peter down and go, oh, I don't want to play this anymore. But I'm almost at the end of this scenario. I guess I'll spend another 20 minutes in it today. And then I'll start being like, oh, I really want to play this other game that's on my horizon, but I'm in this one now and I feel committed to it. It's like being in a dead relationship. And so eventually you just say, you know what? I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to stop playing it. I'm going to start playing The Witcher, or I'm going to start playing XCOM, or whatever the other game is. And usually it's a vastly different category or style of game as well. To sort of palate cleanse. But I'll find myself coming back to it within the 6-month period. Like, I'll definitely have, oh man, I love the Total War games. And then the whole cycle repeats.
Begins anew. Yes, exactly. One other aspect of fatigue, right? So we've talked about fatigue in games where you've been playing the game, you come back to it, you get bored of it, or maybe not bored, but you've explored everything. You go away, you come back just for that fresh. You like I think it's the difference between really enjoying the gameplay of a game and actually there being content for you to enjoy that gameplay in. I think that's mainly the thing that really fatigues people. But the opposite of that, and something that we've experienced many times, is games that we actually are not tired of, that we aren't fatigued by, but that have been, I guess, let go by the community. So the community
everyone else has gotten tired of it.
Yeah, pretty much everyone else has gone, meh. And has let that go. Quite often you see this in MMOs, and one of the games that we had on our list was actually Warhammer Online, which was actually we loved it. We played in a pretty great clan. We had a great time, but
I really enjoyed that time.
Yeah, it was really good fun. But that died, basically, the standard MMO death of MMOs.
Well, actually, I think one of the problems with that one was, again, the imbalance, because they went for something really lofty, which was the big realm v realm thing, where you could literally change the landscape by pushing back the other realm if you were playing Order versus Chaos. And what happened on our server was that Chaos was just too strong.
Yeah.
And Order never got back any ground. There was no mechanic to equalize or reset or anything like that. No. And so the world was static and it was easy.
Yeah.
And if you switched over to Order, the world was static and difficult.
You just get one shot randomly in the PvP areas.
Yeah, it wasn't fun at all in that respect. No. But we were still enjoying the time in like the structured PvP and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like the whole community base left, essentially.
Pretty much.
And we had the same problem with Brink as well.
Yeah. Also, the fact that Brink wasn't a very good game. There was that.
See, I disagree.
There was
I really liked Brink.
Yeah, there was that tiny little detail.
I really enjoyed it. I don't get what people had the problem with it. I thought it was fun. It was fast-paced.
It was too hyped. They hyped that game so hard. And then it turned out to be a very competent but pretty regular shooter. Like team-based, squad-based shooter.
I thought it was really good.
No, and that's the thing, is that we thought it was like, we played quite a bit of it together, and same thing goes for Titanfall, which is one of the other games we have on the list. Titanfall is a friggin' amazing game. I honestly don't understand why people do not play that game to this day. And the only explanation I can have for it is the fact that it was multiplayer only. There was a limited amount of maps, and really just people get bored of that after a while. Like once you hit
Yeah.
max progression on it, which wasn't that
Also,
hard.
the lack of dedicated servers
Oh,
on PC.
Such a bad
That
idea.
will always kill a PC game. I don't know
Yeah.
why we don't do dedicated servers in online games anymore.
I don't know.
We all know that it's the best way to go.
Exactly.
Matchmaking doesn't fix the problem.
And that's how you get like awesome mods that people make and cool little communities that try different things with the game and all that kind of stuff. Like imagine if, I don't know, someone had modded Titanfall to be like robot soccer or something like that. I'm just on the soccer kick because of Rocket League. But, you know, like all those mods, like Counter-Strike was a mod. Like you don't know where people are going to take these awesome games. But obviously it's Origin, so... It's EA, so obviously, you know.
The other thing I think could have really saved Titanfall was a co-op mode. Because the story was really interesting.
Well, you could
now,
play
I don't
on
know
the same
if
team.
you can, yeah, but I don't know if you ever played the co-op modes in any of the Modern Warfare games, 2 or 3.
Oh, right, no.
Those were incredible. So you would be playing with one other person, but this could easily work in a 4-player co-op as well. And you would have very specific objectives in these maps, and they would either be time trials, or they would be like obstacle courses, or stealth missions, or in some of them vehicle missions as well. And in Titanfall, you are the vehicle. But it just added that sense of like you were using the lesser used features on the characters and the vehicles because you were so limited in the gameplay.
Yeah.
But it also allowed for a much more structured narrative. And I think that the single player campaign in Titanfall could have been a really awesome co-op thing. Like there could have been some little mini missions that last 6 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it is. It's less of a complete clusterfuck that some of the standard multiplayer matches ended up being. And actually had, like, for example, forcing you to get out of your Titan and get back in it and use the follow moves and things like that.
Yeah.
That could have been really, really cool.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I guess we'll see if they do that in Titanfall 2.
Well, I think, and probably another recent game that's kind of probably suffered or is suffering or is going to suffer the same fate is Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah, a game I was super excited for, but just cannot bring myself to play.
No, because it's a multiplayer online only game. Actually, I think...
With like 2 maps.
Yeah, with not that many maps. Actually, the actor that plays... what's his name? Bottega? He actually asked EA whether or not they had any plans for a single-player campaign, which I thought was hilarious.
That's cool.
On Twitter. And they were like, oh, we'll see what we can do. It's like, yeah, no.
We'll see, man. No.
Yeah, no, not going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is there any other... What else has got you fatigued or unfinished? What else is going on in the unfinished land?
The other big one is the New Game Plus idea.
Yeah.
So I've never bothered with the New Game Plus on any game ever because... Oh, I lied. One time with Bastion, but I never finished the New Game Plus with Bastion.
Yeah.
It seems these days they put these New Game Plus options in as another way to satisfy that, you know, the extra dot point on the back of the box saying... We have a New Game Plus mode. You can keep playing forever. You never have to play another game in your entire life, except that's ridiculous. It's patently ridiculous. Of course you're going to want to play other games.
Yeah.
But now they're putting it on the end of games that are, like, don't need New Game Plus. Like, for example, The Witcher 3 has New Game Plus. That game is 80 hours long.
Yeah. That is insanely big, and that's without the DLC.
Yeah, it can go longer than 80 hours. Why would you do a New Game Plus with The Witcher 3? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But... maybe back in a time where, because I actually think I'm pretty sure New Game Plus has existed early on in gaming history.
Oh, definitely.
And then it disappeared for a while.
No, I mean,
and I can understand
games like Chrono Trigger had New Game Plus.
Yeah, I can understand when the marketplace only had 12 games in it.
Yeah.
You know, and there were maybe 3 or 4 games that were going to be released in a year that you wanted to play.
Yeah.
As opposed to 30 or 40.
Well, and also, like, in a game like Chrono Trigger or something like that, like, where... it helps you to get to endings that you could just never, ever get to. Like, this is a spoiler for, I don't know, like a 25, 30-year, well, 20, 24-year-old game, but in Chrono Trigger, there's this big time travel element, and if you finish the game... I know, right? If you finish the game...
Is that what the chrono means?
Exactly. If you finish the game and get powerful enough, then you can actually start the New Game Plus and finish the game within, like, half an hour. Because you can fight the final boss in the very first area of the actual game, and you you can beat him and be finished and get one of the better endings in the game by doing that. So that kind of helps you to... There's something like 12 or 13 endings to that game. So in order to get all of them, you would have to do New Game Plus in order to see all of them. So that kind of makes sense in that game. But yeah, for something like Witcher 3, I mean, what are you going to do? Just go around and really like muck with, like, you know, you walk into the first town and just absolutely blast everything to death, like really, really quickly. Like, I don't think there's any real point to having a New Game Plus, except to if you really loved the game, like, and you wanted to play it slightly differently or something like that, I guess.
Yeah. In a game where maybe there was like one big branching sort of plot point.
Yeah.
But even then, the chances of me playing a game a second time through for a different plot is very low.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think you even did it for Mass Effect.
I know. Well, that's a different problem, though, because for Mass Effect, it's like, this is the canon now.
Yeah, exactly.
If I play it a second time, I'll play it with exactly the same choices, because it's the canon.
Yeah, exactly. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know whether or not we have too much more to say about unfinished games. I guess, yeah, I don't know. If there's any advice to publishers out there, I know no one listens to this podcast that actually makes games. But I guess don't be afraid to make games that are short and sweet and can be finished in one sitting. One of the most affecting games that I played this year so far is Beginner's Guide. And that took me, 4 hours to finish, a little bit less than. And it was amazing. And I still think about it, like, randomly during the day on occasion. Like, it's pretty crazy.
It's the mark of a good game.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, short, sweet, told a story, and got out. And didn't try and make it this experience that you have to come back to over and over and over again to get the most out of. I don't know. I think for people such as ourselves that have got this kind of tension going on in our lives between work and our other activities and sitting down and actually playing games, you know, games like that really do make sense for people that maybe have a lot more time on their hands, teenagers, basically. For a start, they're probably playing League of Legends or Minecraft, which is the ultimate unfinishable game, I guess you could say. Yeah, maybe it doesn't make as much sense to play a 3 or 4 hour game and be finished with it. Maybe you want to make your money go a little bit further. That must be...
God, don't we all?
Oh, yeah, not just in games. But yeah, I think are we finished with unfinished?
I think we done.
We done did?
Yeah, we done did good.
Done did good. Cool. Okay, well this is now a finished podcast. So thank you for listening. You can find us on the web at www.timandphill.com and on Facebook at facebook.com/timandphill. If you want to contact us directly, however, you can find Tim on Twitter at Dungeon Master, add him as a friend on Steam as Ageotas, that's Ageotas, or at his website, which is CorsairsAnchorage.com.
And you can find Phill on Twitter at ToothSoup, add him as a friend on Steam as Apothecary, or at his website, which is toothsoup.com. Thanks for listening.
And happy gaming. Yay.